What's up, y'all? It's Will here at Schedule Fly. So, this is a really cool episode for so many reasons. The least being that it's the first time since February of 2020, 2 years, that we've had an opportunity to do an in-person episode. So that was cool. This happens to be at a restaurant that's like 30 minutes from my house. It's down in Rock Hill, South Carolina. It's a place called Kounter with a K. You'll never forget this story. For 12 years now, we've had the opportunity to interview hundreds and hundreds of restaurant owners around the country. We've shared stories in 2 books, over 300 podcast episodes, quite a few films that we've made over the years, and all of them have been incredible opportunities to hear the stories of people that have started a restaurant and why they love what they do and why they do what they do, and lessons they've learned and wisdom they've gained and changes in how they view the industry from when they started to where they are now. They've all been fantastic. There are just a couple of stories that I don't think I'll ever forget hearing the story for the first time. The first one is Sup Dogs, Brett Oliverio at Sup Dogs in Greenville, North Carolina, and also Chapel Hill, North Carolina now. We'll never forget that story. If you haven't had that story, go to the Sup Dogs website. We made a film about it. Brett's been on the podcast numerous times. Great story. I'll put this one right up there as one I'll never forget. This is such a unique story. I'm not going to spoil it here. I'll let Rob Masone tell that story, which he does. And this episode is, I think it's about an hour. I was there a while. We had a great time. Just a very cool, unique opportunity with an event that happened in let's just say it happened 60 years ago at this exact location, and a very memorable story that Rob and his team and the Rock Hill community have embraced, and he's launched this quite a place, a very special place at Kounter. Started December 15th, 2020, right in the heart of COVID. And they're doing very, very well. And when you hear this story, you'll understand why. So thank you for listening. I should say that, as I think I said in the last episode, we've never had sponsors. We are the sponsor, Schedule Fly. If you want to have a very simple, clean, easy way to schedule and communicate with your hospitality team, whether it's a restaurant or a ice cream shop or a coffee shop or a brewery or a distillery or whatever the case may be, if you're in hospitality, we're here for you. We can make scheduling and communication super easy, and we take great care of our customers. Hit schedulefly.com. Check us out. 30-day free trial. Anything you need, let us know. Happy to help. Okay, so with that, thank you for listening. More of these coming soon. So awesome to get to do this in person. So awesome to get to meet Rob. Great story here. And y'all stay tuned. Take care. Thanks. All right. We're rolling, man.
Nice.
Rob, introduce yourself.
My name is Rob Masone. Everybody calls me Chef Rob. I'm the executive chef and owner of Create Experiences, Kounter down in Rock Hill. Got a little concept called Twisted Eats. And I co-own a couple places in Seaside, Florida, Crepes du Soleil and Cocina Cabana.
Dude, you must delegate pretty well. You got a lot going on.
That's all about having a great team, Will. That's for sure.
So, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this. This is the first in-person podcast I have done in just 2 years. I was in Colorado right before COVID hit, in February of 2000, literally about this time. I think it literally may have been this same week, and came back and all hell broke loose. I love doing these in person. I enjoy Zoom; it's great, but anytime I can do them in person, it's so cool. So this is a special one. So thank you for.
I'm happy to be the first, man.
Keep that thing.
There we go. Happy to be the first. I definitely am tired of Zoom meetings myself. I think with most of the rest of the country, probably the world.
Oh boy! Well, good for them. They've done well, and it's cool. It has its place. There are times now when it's cool to be able to do that, but nothing like doing this in person. So we're down here, folks that are listening in Rock Hill, South Carolina, as Rob said. I'm fortunately like 30 minutes from here, which is great, so we could do this. And we're in his restaurant, Kounter, which we're going to talk about Kounter and the story behind this, because this is like just a phenomenal, incredible story behind this place, and the way that y'all are honoring this story is just so badass, man. So give everybody the story about this place that we're in right now and why it's so special.
Yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. So, like you said, we're in Kounter. We spell Kounter with a K down here. That's the mother company, Create, spelled with a K, Create Experiences, and so that's where the crazy K came from. But we're in the old McCrory's building, and in 135 East Main Street. And in 1961, this was the spot of a pretty famous sit-in that became known as the Friendship 9 sit-in. And basically what happened is 10 African-American gentlemen sat down at the counter one day in January, and they simply just ordered lunch. And they were seated for probably about 10 seconds before they were refused service and stood up by the police officers that were already standing behind them. In 1961, the police the police house or the police station was right in the back of this parking lot on White Street. So the guys were walked out in handcuffs and put into the city jail, and they were given the option to pay a $100 fine and go on about their way, or they were given the option to do 30 days hard labor on the chain gang. So what happened was one of the gentlemen, his attorney paid the bail so he wouldn't lose his scholarship to Friendship College, and the remaining 9 gentlemen, they chose to do the time and do the time on the chain gang, and they started the phrase jail no bail, or coined the phrase jail no bail, which picked up a lot of traction nationwide. Martin Luther King started to pick this up, and now everybody's starting to do this jail no bail movement. And what that did is it actually turned the coin around on the cities and the states that were supporting this oppression and segregation at the lunch counters. And basically these guys for the first time made the cities pay to incarcerate them. They had to feed them, they had to clothe them, they had to take care of them, any health needs. They had to pay. It cost the city money to incarcerate these guys. Now, yes, they did the chain gang and the hard labor, but at the end of the day, they weren't paying $100 back into the system just to further it. So it was, we've got the original counter, the pink Formica, with the original nail holes, the original coffee stains, just like they sat at it in 1961. And I remember sitting down with Mr. David Williamson at the beginning of this, and I wanted to get his blessing on doing this project because there was a lot of, I didn't get a lot of crap for doing this, but at the beginning, people were looking at me like, okay, well, why are you spelling this with a K, and you're a white gentleman, and different things like that. So I really wanted his blessing on the space. And we sat down when we were in demo phase, and I had just uncovered the counter and the original countertop, and it was just all dusty and grungy, but he hadn't seen it since then. And we sat there for about 45 minutes. About 20 minutes we were on camera talking, and for another 25 or 30 minutes we just sat down there and we were just talking, and it was just like talking to my granddad. And we were talking about anything specific. We were just having conversation. And the entire time we were talking, he was just rubbing on that counter right at his seat. His name's right down there, number 6. And he was just running his hand on that counter, just subconsciously doing this the whole time. And I knew at that point, I was like, there's no way we're covering this back up. There's no way we're changing this. We are going to create the entire concept of Kounter around the lunch counter. And that's exactly what we did. So we have a live cooking station behind the counter at 4. We're open for lunch 6 days a week and dinner 6 days a week. But at 4 o'clock, this turns into a chef's table. So the premier seating in the restaurant is at the counter, where you get to interact with myself, or you get to interact with my sous chef, and you get to watch the dishes being made and the items being made. We've got induction burners right here in front of you, and it's just it's an awesome experience. And that's what we've been able to do, is create an experience at the counter in a positive way. And in 1961, you couldn't sit here as an African American man or woman and order lunch at the counter. Now you have people from all walks of life here at the counter, and this is the furthest thing from segregation or anything racist that it could be. We've got folks come in with sweatpants and tennis shoes and jogging suit, sitting next to a woman in a dress that's sitting next to a man with a sports coat and a Rolex. And everybody's having conversation. Everybody's enjoying the food. We're talking about what happened here in 1961, and we're talking about what's happening here in 2020 and 2021 and now 2022. And it's about never letting anybody forget what happened here, but like turning it into such a positive manner. And the guys that are still with us, they come in on a pretty regular basis, and it's really nice to have them. And all of our guests, if they're in here and one of the members of the 9 come in, I mean, they're celebrities. They love to see these guys come in, and these guys like the attention too. But man, it's not about that for them. And in 1961, it wasn't about that for them. Mm-hmm. It was about the equality, and just it's been very moving for me personally, just to be able to be part of this and part of the everyday continuing education. Because it really wasn't that long ago. If you really think about it, it's 2022, and this happened in 1961. So these guys are still with us, and so it's just very moving.
You know, they in those 60 years, they've seen a massive amount of progress in race relations, particularly here in the South, where you and I both grew up, and that's it's just been such a part of the history of this part of the country. And it's been awesome to see how far we've come during that time. But these guys are heroes to do what they did when they did it, with the risks that they were taking. And I love that. I mean, that was such a strategic way to approach it versus come in here, get attention, pay the fine, whatever. That's adding money to a system that sucked and was wrong. And what they did is said, you know, instead of adding money to it, except for the one gentleman who, you know, very understandably wanted to keep his scholarship, but they cost the system money. And there's so much thought and intention that went into that, and what they did had such a big impact. And as you said, I mean, that I didn't know this story. I mean, I knew about, you know, the jail no bail concept. Didn't know that started here. That's an amazing thing that started here, because it did gain so much traction, that type of thought. And then you put clearly, I mean, I'm looking at those 10 chairs, I'm looking at that counter, I'm looking at, you know, what happens behind the counter there that, you know, makes that the prime seating here. I'm looking at the nameplates on there, I'm looking at their names on the walls along here, and then we looked at the hallway that tells a story of all that right outside here that you've done. I mean, the amount of attention and thought that you've put into this is really, really significant, Rob. Where did all this start for you? how did you get involved in this particular story?
Well, that's a loaded question. So I grew up in Rock Hill. So growing up, we went to church, right? I mean, I could hit a golf ball on a really good day to First Pres over there. And so, growing up, going to church, we always used to come by, and we knew the story about the Friendship Nine. And but again, it was not anything that was ever really like drilled into us or instilled in us. My mother and her cousins used to come here when it was the McCrory's and buy trinkets off the walls. So, and I didn't know that. So I've always had some type of connection with this building unknowingly. And I was in Florida a few years ago, and I told our director of operations, I was like, hey, I'd really like to explore the opportunity of doing something in Rock Hill. We were doing a lot of catering in Rock Hill. We had become really plugged in with a lot of the nonprofits around here, the health system and the Piedmont Medical Center and Infinity Health and the Worley Sports and Girls Camp and the police. And we were just doing a lot of big end catering down here. And I was like, I've been able to reconnect. It'd be nice to be able to do something in Rock Hill and give back to where I grew up. And that's kind of where that kind of was left. And then we looked, and we just keep looking and kept our finger on the pulse. And then we noticed one day that this building had come up for lease, for sale. I guess first it was for lease. And so we came and we looked. We were interested specifically because of the event space in the back, that used to be called the Palmetto Room. And it was it's about 6,500 square feet at the time of like 1991 conference room. I mean, it was dated, to put it politely, but it served its function. And owning a catering and event business, it would have been, it was nice to see that. And then as we walked further, because we came in on the back of White Street, and I didn't really realize where we were coming to, and we realized that this was a location, a restaurant here prior to us was called the Five and Dine, and they had been closed down for a couple of years at that point, and it had been sitting empty. And at that point, I was like, wow, this is actually, where the Friendship Nine, the sit-in occurred, and that was really cool because I left Rock Hill in 1998 or 97 and didn't come back to the area until 2012. So I started to remember, just the things that I had been told when we were children and things we learned about in school as we were coming up in social studies and history and stuff like that. And it really was when I got digging into what had happened here and when I started to meet with Mr. Williamson that the concept just really came alive. And the thing is that the history of what happened here in 1961 is held hostage by the success or the failure of anything that's ever been in this building. And that's pretty deep when you think about it. Yeah. And so I'm not really a half-ass kind of guy, and that's not the way we treat any of our divisions of the companies or any of our clients. And so I've got a good team, Will, and we thought about it. We thought about it long and hard, and I probably lost a lot of sleep over it. And this is in the heart of COVID, brother. I mean, this is like right after the shutdown. I mean, this is like all in. And they said, we said, this is what we want to do. And I'd been working with this is how all in it is, okay? I've been working with a local bank. So I was going to do a small business loan to get this thing done. And I was like, I've always been with a big bank. And I was like, I'm going to go local, hometown guy, go, pay some interest in a local bank. COVID happened. Everything shut down. Attorneys looked at me and said, you sure you still want to do this? I said, yeah, I'm in. Bank called. Hey, I know that we've been doing this for about the last 7 months, but we're just freezing all of our stuff, so we're not going to be able to give you a small business loan. So, well, that's real exciting. So paid cash for everything. So my catering company paid for the entire thing. So you want to talk about a time in this country's history when you don't need to be cash poor, and I pay, there's no safety net. Like things are shutting down. The Create took $750,000 off the books like overnight, just in events that we had coming up. And
wow.
So like we said, okay, we're in. This is something we believe in. This is something we're going to do, and we did it. And we opened on December 15th, 2020. And let me tell you, it was the right time to open. If there was any time to open in 2020, it was December 15th of 2020.
Why is that?
And I don't know, but I will tell you that I think we had the holiday bug, the Christmas bug. The election was over. No matter what side of the coin you stood on, it doesn't matter. It was done.
Right.
Because that was a lot that just led up to that. That was craziness.
Yeah.
And it was done, and we had the holiday bug going on, and the vaccine was poking its head through. And again, doesn't matter what side of the coin you sit on that. These are realities that are happening in our country at that point. And we spent a lot. We did 3 days of family and training, and we brought the right food bloggers in. We brought the right clients in. I didn't do anything different. We didn't do anything different. We invited our clients that have been working with us for years, and we spent a lot of money in training, and it was awesome. And we really hit it on all cylinders, and the management team did a great job, and our service staff has done a great job, and our culinary team done a great job. And people really bought into the concept of us cooking behind the counter and creating a new experience, and they loved the new decor, and they loved being able to see the counter, and they loved that we were preserving the history, and we weren't really making this about like what we do. We were making this about what my company and the history of this building can offer together. Then we caught some national publicity. It was really cool. We had CBS came in from New York.
Oh, wow. We
got to be on the 6 o'clock evening news with Norah O'Donnell. It was really, really cool experience, and we, so that gained a lot of national traction. And then with working with Visit York County and them, and working with their programs and their food bloggers and writers that would come through, and we were one of the stops for them, and they enjoyed everything, and they would go on and blog and write about what we were doing here at Kounter. And so that's why I think it was the right time, because it was just, there was no right time to open in 2020, and we're still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
And we're in a spot now that we're very fortunate, very blessed. We stay busy. We enjoy what we do, and people can feel that. People, when they come in here, there's a special energy, but it's not just the energy that me or my team gives off. It's the energy of this building. It's got its own energy.
Yeah.
It really, really does. We dress these seats every day, just like this, because when we walk away, it's just a weird thing in my head, but I want the guys that aren't with us anymore to be able to feel like they can walk in the door and have a seat, if that makes sense. But this is very personal to me. So when we say we were all in, like, I went all in on this thing.
Yes, you did.
There was no bank to pay for this. That's it's very humbling experience or feeling to watch people come and enjoy something that you've just put so much into, that you deeply care about. And they enjoy it. They have a great time. And you got that random few folks that, this isn't for them, but that is the far into the minority of what we are doing here.
Yeah.
And it's cool because we've got people that come in. They're on the way to Florida or Myrtle Beach or somewhere. They're coming in from Ohio. They're traveling north from Florida, and they kick off on 77, and they hop on Dave Blanc, and they come down to downtown Rock Hill. And it's like, how'd you hear about us? And they're like, well, we saw a piece on CBS, or we saw you on TikTok, or we saw you this, or we saw you that. And you're like, wow, like, these people would have never come here. And they're not necessarily coming here just for like us and what we're doing for the food. They're coming here to experience the history and see what happened here. But they get here and they get the whole package. Or they're coming just for the food and just for the reputation that we've built, and they don't know about the history here. And they get here and they're educated about the history. And I can't tell you, I can't count on both my hands the times that I've seen grown men sit at this counter and not understand what happened until they were here, and grown men have just started crying from sitting here and like hearing all of our team, all of our staff is very well versed about what happened here. It's prereq to like get on the floor here or be behind the counter as a bartender. You have to understand and really know what happened here because people ask, and it's part of their jobs and part of my job to continue to tell the story. So, absolutely.
Well, I love how y'all really turned something that was so hard and so negative into a really positive thing, and then you've embraced it and you're celebrating it, and it's a great example of taking, things that happen in life that are objectively bad and negative, but then finding a way to turn that into something really positive. I mean, that's something you have to do as a business owner all the time. That's something every restaurant had to do with the pandemic. I mean, you've got this horrible thing, but it happened. You can't control it. It's there. How do we turn it into something positive? And taking this story and doing what y'all have done is just, I mean, it's really, really cool, man. And it is, you just sit here and y'all are closed right now today, but you can sense something special about this place. And then you got the city has this awesome sign out front telling the story. You've got the hallway honoring it. So it's impressive, man. I mean, this is quite an operation y'all pulled off, and the success. And I mean, I have to ask this question. I mean, do you feel the pressure of succeeding because you're honoring these men and this story? Does it put even more pressure on you to make Kounter successful?
I think it puts more pressure on me personally to stay fresh and stay relevant and it pushes me personally as a chef and as a business owner to continue to push the envelope on what we do culinary, cocktail, and service wise.
Yeah.
To continue to accent and stay on top of it makes me stay on top of my game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like I referenced a little while ago, the history of the counter, like if I close those doors,
right,
like nobody can come in.
Yeah.
I mean, something will get open again, but how long would that take, or will the city take the bill? Like, there's so many open questions, right? So, I have very long-term plans for this building, as you and I were talking about earlier, to make sure that doesn't happen, and make sure that I can keep my finger on the pulse and make sure that the history never gets forgotten here, because it is so important.
Well, so Rock Hill, the city, for those that don't know, this is, if you don't live in the southeast of the Carolinas, or you don't know Rock Hill, it's south of Charlotte. You may know where that is. I mean, Charlotte's right on the North and South Carolina line. Rock Hill is, 20, 30 minutes from downtown Charlotte. Yeah. Small town that has Rock Hill's been an interesting place because, as I told you, I had not been to the downtown area, and when I got here a little bit early and walked around, I mean, downtown Rock Hill is phenomenal. There's just a really cool vibe here. That the town has done a great job, clearly, of drawing awesome businesses like yours, and clearly plenty of others here. Rock Hill's done a lot with, I guess, an active lifestyle. I know, like, they have the BMX park that's here that people are coming from, I guess, all over the world, if I understand correctly. There's the river walk. The leadership here has clearly embraced an energy and a vibrancy and a lifestyle of, being active and healthy and so forth. I mean, that I know just from outside looking in. I'm curious how you've interacted with the town, the city, the leadership here with this story, and because it's in some ways it reminds people of a negative event in the past that maybe some, I don't know, maybe want to forget. I mean, I think what you're doing is awesome and embracing it and turning it into this positive thing. But has there been any of that? Or
Rock Hill has been very, very supportive. The leadership in Rock Hill, I mean, we get all walks of life that come in here from. I mean, the mayor's in here all the time eating. City council's in here all the time eating. We've got, we get everybody from the principals to the superintendents. I mean, listen, we get everybody. Everybody's very supportive. I grew up here, so this is kind of like a hometown boy coming back, giving back. We try to give back to the community as much as we can with everything that we do, Will. We pay a lot of taxes, so, I mean, the city likes that, that's for sure. But yeah. We also we have a community cocktail program that we put together, and Alicia Fernandez, our director of operations, kind of doubles as our mixologist as well. So she comes up with a new cocktail every month, and we pick a nonprofit that is near and dear to our hearts or one of our employees' hearts, or just or someone new that's starting out that could use some help in the nonprofit world, and we put it on our menu we call it our community cocktail program. So, and then we have its own section in the menu, and we talk about it all over social media, and for about 40 days, a little over a month, we run this cocktail, and then when the proceeds go back to that organization. So it's been really cool. I think, within our first year, I think we donated. We started, I guess, in February, about a year ago, and I think just with calendar year last year, we donated over $20,000 to
nice
to just local organizations, local nonprofits, Heart to Heart Foundation, Affinity Health, Where These Boys and Girls Club, Men's Haven, and multiple others that I'm not saying right now. But so yeah, I mean, I think Rock Hill has welcomed us very graciously, and surrounding. We do get a lot of people from Charlotte that come down. We get a lot of people from Columbia that drive up. We get a lot of people from Waxhaw and Tega, and we get a lot of people from Fort Mill. We get a lot of people from Lake Wiley.
Yeah,
we get a lot of people from a lot of places. I mean, we've become a destination to come to, and that's again attributed to a lot of factors. The fact that we care, that we want to be here, the fact of the history, the fact that we put out a quality product, and again that we just care. We don't do this. I do this because I love to do this.
Yeah, I can tell.
I don't do it because I just wanted to pick something to do one day.
Yeah. How did you get started in hospitality? What's your backstory, man? Because you've been in a lot of places. You've done a lot of stuff.
I have. I started cooking when I was 5 in my grandmother's kitchen, not knowing what in the hell I was doing, but I sure was telling her how she was making the cookies wrong. And for any 5-year-old to tell you that's the story. Listen, that's from her mouth, okay, not mine, because I don't remember all that when I was 5. She's 96 now, and she still cooks, and we still cook together. And she does for Thanksgiving. It's great. Everybody always says, "Chef, what are you cooking for Thanksgiving?" I'm like, I do the bird. That's the only thing I do. I fry the bird, and because my grandmother still does everything else.
96.
And I'm like. And they're like, "That's awesome." I'm going to enjoy that for as long as I can.
That's
now,
so
my
awesome.
brother and my sister and myself, we help her put things together. But she's lives in the same house by herself.
She been down here?
She's in Winston-Salem.
Has she been to Kounter?
She has been to Kounter.
Awesome.
Yes, of course. And we brought her down for Mother's Day, and she had a ball. But so from there, high school cooking, odd jobs, worked for Outback, worked for Charlie's, worked for a number of places. Left in 97, went down to Charleston. From Charleston, came back to Rock Hill. health issues with my family, some things like that with my parents. And then from here, I went to Columbia, South Carolina. And then I was in Columbia for a couple of years, and then I went to Raleigh. And outside of Raleigh, I was cooking in Raleigh. And I took my first executive chef position in Fayetteville, North Carolina, out of Raleigh. And I was the executive chef for a place called the Mash House down there. And did that for a couple of years.
When was this?
This was 2002.
Okay, all right.
2003, I'm sorry. And then I did a couple years there, and then I opened my first restaurant in downtown Fayetteville called the Brazen Rabbit. And it was in the bottom of Prince Charles Clarion Hotel, and it was awesome. And it was a failure. It was the biggest thing. I was the young gun chef that got involved with a buddy of mine that was about 20 years older than I was, and his wife, and they took advantage of everything that I had to offer. And in hindsight, it was the worst business move I've ever made, and the best at the same time, because I just learned a lot about people, learned a lot about business, I learned a lot about being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about business partners. So So that was tough, and I was young, and I had investment from my family, I had investment from their family, and they just took they took all the money and ran. Basically, we were open for a while, so I walked away with a bottle of wine and my recipe book. From that restaurant.
How long were you there?
We were there. We were open. I was there for right under a year.
Okay.
I went through the office one day, and the long story we won't get into, but I basically found in the state of North Carolina you have to file your paperwork to make your LLC legal.
Yeah.
And there was some forging on the documentation that said basically it was supposed to be a 50-50 partnership, and it turned into a 49-49-2. And the 2 was never supposed to be on there. So basically they had controlling interest of the company.
Oh.
So I was like, whoa. And so they didn't last much longer after that, but they decided to put all the sales and use tax in their pocket and didn't do any of the things with the federal. At the end of the year, nobody got a W-2. It was just like it was a bad thing. They got in trouble. They got in big trouble for it. Went to jail kind of trouble.
Yeah.
So I had been talking to a local business owner. Bill Panhoff was his name, and he owned a catering company out in Spring Lake, North Carolina. He was awesome. Been in business since 1990. Wonderful dude. We'd always talked about doing stuff together while we were working for the March of Time Chefs auctions and just different things throughout our knowing each other. And I called him and I said, Bill, I need work. What you got? He's like, what's going on? I told him. He goes, come on. I said, I don't know what I got, but I'll make something. So I took the executive chef position at his company and was there for about 7 years.
And this was in Fayetteville?
This was right, yep,
okay.
In Fayetteville. And so I got to do, he would get on he was working with a company called Cater Source, and he was a speaker for them, and I got involved in speaking and teaching with him, and we would travel all over the country doing this, and I got involved with a couple other chefs, one from Omaha and one from Denver, and we would collectively plan the opening gala for this company called Cater Source, which is still a great company, great resource for caterers and chefs and event planners from all over the world. But we would do the opening gala for 3,000 or 4,000 people out in Vegas or in New Orleans or wherever it would be, and we'd just create some of the craziest events that you've ever seen. But then we would do we would do a lot mainly in the Carolinas with his company, and so then I actually got the opportunity. I went and did dinner for one of the generals on Fort Bragg one night. Showed up without doing my homework. I was the server. It was only 8 people. I was the server. I was the chef. I was everything. We didn't have anybody to help, so I took care of it by myself. And it turned out to be, a gentleman by the name of Basir Bayat that owns all the telecommunications in Afghanistan and that part in India and that part of the world. And they were having some high-end conversations about things that were going on in our military world. And so I sat there and cooked dinner in the kitchen with CIA, with Afghan
Wow.
army, and like knew that I was definitely out of my comfort zone and element at that night. But I tell you what, I would have brought like 10 more people with me if I'd have known that. But I didn't have my information right. So at the end of that dinner, I was invited to come be a judge on the television show called 59 Minutes. And then in that same conversation, they were like, we've never had an American chef compete. So how would you like to be the first American chef to compete in the syndication 59 Minutes, which is their version of Iron Chef.
And where is it?
This is filmed in Afghanistan.
Oh, it's in Afghanistan. Oh, okay.
Kabul, Afghanistan.
Oh, my gosh.
So I said, well, sure, that'd be great. Yada, yada. We could talk about this for hours. But I said, sure, that'd be great. And they said, okay, well, I'll have somebody get in touch, blah, blah, blah. Week went by, I didn't hear anything. 2 weeks by, I didn't hear anything. About 4 weeks later, I get a phone call from a random lady out of New Jersey saying, Chef Rob, how's your schedule looking for next year? We want to need to get your visas lined up, and we want you to come out, and we want to let you go hang out in Dubai for a little while, and we want to bring you over from Dubai. We want to bring you over to Kabul, and we want to have you compete. And brother, we're in the middle of war. This is 2011.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Yeah. They're filming the show in Kabul during.
Yep.
Wow.
And so they're.
Oh God.
So I go over, and first of all, I said, I'm still working for somebody else, right? So I'm like, hey, like this is the opportunity I've got to do, and I'm talking to my boss, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if that's such a good idea. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, what? I don't think you heard me correctly. Like, I'm gonna go do this. Would you like to be a part of it? Because I can bring I can bring a sous chef. He's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I'm gonna do this. So, trust me, we were very well connected in when we went over there. We had the special operations had a red line on us. We had sat phones. We were good. They knew everywhere we were at every second. Didn't mean anybody couldn't get us. Just means that they would have known our last point of origin. But so yeah, that was I went over, competed. It was awesome. The audience was active duty, Marine Corps, Army, Navy, Air Force, and the women's national volleyball team from Afghanistan, if you didn't even know that they had one. I didn't at the time. But and the judges panel was Afghan parliament, high-ranking member of NATO, and a colonel in the U.S. Army that was over there. So that was an experience of a lifetime. I mean, it's still to this day. I mean, it's the only chef.
Wow.
I mean, you can read about it over there when you're done or when we're done. But that was really cool. So I got to come back and talk about that and continue the national circuit speaking and just doing some different things. And then after that, I came up to consult for a local brewery in Charlotte prior to them opening, and I hit it off really well with the owner there. And I had worked with the brewmaster there at the Mash House in 2003, 2004. And so they said, hey, instead of just consulting, why don't I just offer you a big job and come do it? So I came up and came back to the Charlotte area in late 2012, and I helped build and I opened Heist Brewery in Noda.
Oh, yeah, Heist. Okay.
So I built their culinary program there and their brunches and their catering and all that stuff there, and really enjoyed it. But just we kept getting crazy and kept getting busy, and my clients were like, hey, chef, I don't care who I'm writing a check to as long as you're doing it. So I opened Create in late 2014 with $500 in a Bank of America bank account, and there was Create. And so I started traveling all over the country throwing parties, and I linked up with a national company that we quoted a job for them out at the Aviation Museum in Charlotte, and they said, I love this so much. Can you recreate this event multiple times at different locations in the country? And so Phoenix Art Museum, Dallas, Texas, and Washington, all over the place. And they paid me a whole lot of money to do that. And instead of just pissing that money away, I reinvested it in the company and bought things and bought vehicles and bought inventory and bought things and started our rental company. And so turned $500 into that. So
Wow.
really cool. No bank loans, no anything.
Dude, that's impressive.
And then through the catering and events, I had a client of mine that we worked closely together, big firm. His son was getting married out of town, and he asked me, he said, hey, would you like to help? Or can you help? Can you quote me? I'd love to bring you down to Florida. I'd love to see the area we're at. Said sure, so went down there and to a little place called Seaside, Florida, in between Panama City and Destin. And long story short there, fell in love with the place, in Seaside, the heart of Seaside, they've got these Airstreams, and there's the food and beverage for, if you ever seen, what's the movie, God, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Is it the Truman?
Truman Show, yep. So the Truman Show was filmed in Seaside. Thank you.
Okay, I remember hearing something about that.
And then, so I was like, man, it'd be really cool to do one of those Airstreams. And so, lo and behold, I became business partners with the bride and groom from down there, and we opened Crepes du Soleil in 2018. And I'd had a long time to think about business partners, but it works for me there. And they're awesome. Jay and Liz are awesome folks down there, and we just hit it off from the beginning. And of course, I've been family friends with Jay's parents for years, and have come to know Liz's parents really well. But we opened a little creperie. We bought a 1972 Tradewind 25 Airstream, and we were able. Seaside gave us their blessing on opening the creperie, and we put an Airstream on 30A. It never moves. It's awesome, and it's gangbusters. And then Seaside asked if we'd like to do another concept the next year, the very following year, and we all looked at each other and go, I think we're crazy, but how can we say no? So we opened a little Cuban restaurant called Cocina Cubana, which is about 20 yards across the street from the creperie.
Now, okay, where were you living when you
for all this?
Yeah, when you started the Florida gig.
I was living here, but I have a place there as well.
Okay.
So I was bouncing back and forth.
Okay.
So it was actually I would fly into Panama City.
Panama City. Okay.
Yeah. Fly into Panama City, and depending on how long I would be gone for, I'd have my Jeep at the airport. I'd hop in the Jeep, drive in 35 minutes into Seaside, leave it there, hang out, do what I needed to do there for a week, 2 weeks sometimes. I mean, just depends. I was there for a couple months before. But you have to have a great team, because we were still operating here.
Yeah.
So so it's all about a long time. We're a small business too. We're chump change compared to like big world stuff.
Yeah.
But we do big things. For a small business, we do big things.
Right.
But I realized a long time ago that Create and Kounter and Twisted Eats and Cocina Cubana and Crepes du Soleil, like, everything is much bigger than me, and I can't do it on my own, and I have to have a great team surrounding me.
Okay, so the first thing I said to you when we started this was, you must delegate really well, because you have a lot of things going on in a lot of places. And you said, well, you got to have a great team. And you've said that half a dozen times. So clearly you have a great team. My question is, because this is a big dilemma for a lot of people in this industry, is particularly over the last couple of years, is building a great team and keeping a great team is no small challenge, dude. So like, if you have a great team, you have figured out something. Like, you figured out a way to find and keep great people. That's not luck, clearly. So you're good at it, and you have it's done with intention and with a lot of thought. I'd love to find out how you do that so well, because to me, this whole world of hospitality, I think it goes without saying, you got to have good food, you got to have good drinks, you got to have good ambience. It helps even more when you have a great story. I mean, this is like the coolest story ever here. But if you don't have good people, you can just forget it, because, that's what when the couple comes in the door that's here for the first time, or the family or the guy or the gal or whatever, it's that that experience they have and the interaction they have with whoever is serving them and whoever is interacting with them, it's so freaking critical. Like, it's such a people business. And seems to me, outside looking in, it's just getting harder and harder to find and keep really good people. But you're doing it, and you're doing it in, 2 different states, or 3 states actually. So tell me about that, man.
Trust me, you're not the first person to ask this question. And it's not really rocket science. You have to treat people with respect. You have to pay people a decent wage, a livable wage, something that they could pay the bills on. You have to have people that are bought into what you're doing. You have to give your team the tools to do their job. That doesn't mean that when they ask for something, you just buy it. But I can't expect somebody to do a job if I don't give them the appropriate tools.
Yeah.
I don't expect anybody on my team to do a job that I've not personally showed them that I can do, that I've done. I'll scrub the floors at 2:30 in the morning with the culinary team. I love it. I get on my hands and knees back there. I bust tables in the dining room when the hostess or the host is a little tied up. I talk to every table that comes in here, every one of them. My managers still talk to the tables. Every table that comes in here, I talk to. How you doing? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Now, I might miss a few here and there if I'm on the line or if I'm cooking back here, but I can stand there and encounter. I can see everybody that comes in the door. I can watch that computer right there and know exactly what's going on in the kitchen without having to ask anybody a word. But you also have to trust people. You have to trust that they're going to make the best decision, and that's the hardest part sometimes, is instilling trust, because unfortunately we are in an industry that, people will take things that don't belong to them, or it's very easy to spend somebody else's money kind of scenario when you're not the one paying for it.
Sure, yeah.
But you have to reward people for doing a good job. People just want to be treated with respect at the end of the day, Will.
Yeah.
They want, but we also provide them with a place that they can come in, and if they do their job, then they're going to make money, because I'm giving them the tools to do this. We're kicking out a product that they're proud of, that they're happy to serve, that they know how to talk about. They know what's going on. So when they're at a table, they can speak with confidence about what's about to come out, because our culinary team does their job on pushing it out, and our service team does their job on making sure that their service is great, and our management team does their job on making sure that everybody is doing it. So at the end of the day, we're staying in our lanes. And if we have an issue, because we're not perfect. Listen, we have turnover, and we've made some bad hires, and we understand that not everybody is here for life. But we also go about it as, if there's an issue, then we're going to discuss it. We can catch on fire in the back, but if table 42 doesn't feel that fire, then we've done our jobs, because we can work out anything in the back. There is no front of the house, back of the house animosity here. There is none of that. We pay our culinary members well. That's part of the thing that, like, not everybody can pay people $15, $18, $20 some dollars an hour. But when you really break down the math, like, if you don't, how much turnover are you doing? How much does it cost you to train these people when you have this constant turnover? If you've got somebody out there that's burning 500 steaks before you hire somebody else to work on the grill, how much money did that just cost you? So it's just looking at it from a different perspective is what I do. Mm-hmm. Trust me, I'm not that selfish business owner that has to, like, you can't live off of $9 an hour anymore.
Right.
You just can't.
No.
You can't. You can't live off of.
You can't
live off of $10 or $11 an hour. But
especially now with inflation going up, it's just making that even harder. So.
But I'm asking people to come in here and spend 8 and 9 and 10 hours of their day or longer sometimes with me and us, and taking away the time from their families. And, well, I've lost 2 marriages over this profession. So I'm not one to say how to do it, but I am one to say this is what I don't want you to do, because this is what I did.
Yeah.
And so if I can give you a work-life balance, treat you with respect as a human, value your opinion, give you the tools to do your job, and trust that you're going to make the best decisions, people tend to say, hey, this is a cool place to work. I really like the culture here. I really like what these guys are building. I believe in it. I can make some money, and I can still hang out with my boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, children, dog, whatever. I mean, it's not rocket science, but that's it. There's no formula. Well,
there is a formula in a way. You laid it out, and it's not rocket science, and it's not. You laid it out as a formula, but to your point, there is no exact science to this. It's you've learned a lot, I can tell, about people, sure, about business partners, about losing marriages, and you've earned a lot of wisdom, and that wisdom has helped lead you, I think, to understand people really well and how to treat people. It is something that a lot of people in this industry get wrong, I think, sometimes because of ego. Like you talked about scrubbing the floors at 2:30 in the morning, and you're leading by example. There's a lot of people that
sure,
they don't want to do those things because they're in charge and they own, and other people should do that. But you set an example that people will follow because you're showing that you're not too good to do that. So there's the lack of ego is important, the understanding of treating people with respect, which you mentioned, which is so important. Which ironically, how ironic is it that you're so attuned to that when this whole story started with 10 people that were treated with zero respect,
yeah, fair enough, right?
And
Facts.
A whole society that treated a whole other part of society with no respect. So it is a big part of it. I find it to be, to me, it's like the most important yet challenging part of this world that you live in, of hospitality, is getting good people who understand that they're being validated and treated so well, who then in turn take that and what you've provided for them, and then that's how they wind up treating your guests so well. And then this is what it comes back to why I asked this question, is it's all about people. I mean, if you've got great people here, which you've said you have, and you do, clearly you can't do so well without that. But boy, it is it's amazing to me, because this industry is on one end, on the polar opposite end of the industry that you're in, fast food, big chain, everything's going to be automated. McDonald's will probably have one person in there in 10 years, just fine-tuning all the equipment that flips the burgers and all that kind of stuff. And there's a need for that, and there's a place for that. There's times when that's what you want. I mean, I had 4 kids with me coming back from Sugar Mountain yesterday, and we went to, I won't name the place, but it was a quote fast food place, because we just wanted something quick because we were tired and we were driving home, and there were a lot of people in there, and it was super slow, and it's this isn't fast food.
Right.
That's when you want that. But when you want to come in and have a good experience and celebrate with your family, or mourn with your family, or go on a date night, or have an anniversary, or any special experience, or you just want to be by yourself and go somewhere cool for a while and be treated well, that's this end. That's this other end of the extreme there, which is always going to be reliant on people. And I just find that dichotomy, this bifurcation of this world, so interesting, because as much as, I mean, here I am, an owner of a software business, but as much as technology has its role, and efficiencies have their role, people, man, that's what everything, I mean, particularly in independent hospitality, what y'all do for the towns you're in and the cities you're in is provide these gathering places for people to celebrate their important events in life. I mean, that's what it's all about. This is where they come. They come to cool places like yours, like Kounter and thousands of other ones. All of them, without question, have always got to have really good people. So I hope that people will learn from guys like you, and I'm talking about owners and aspiring owners, that they'll listen to this and that they will understand what you understand, that inherent value of those people, because without that, like, we're just not going to have good hospitality. I mean, there'll be fewer and fewer establishments. Guys like you and your team will keep doing well, but there'll be fewer and fewer because, I don't know what's happened the last couple of years, but a lot of people left this industry. I don't know if they're coming back or not, but
I think that's you could do a whole podcast on that itself. You're right. I mean, this industry, I think in all industries, I think COVID really changed the dynamic of staffing and employment for all industries.
Yeah, for sure.
It really did. I mean,
it did.
And I work with clients that make worldly decisions, and so I hear it and I watch it trickle down through the supply chains.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, well, people just got lazy and they want to get a government handout. And you heard all this. I mean, this is, especially in this, listen, we're not talking, not everybody in this industry makes $100,000 a year, right? Okay. We're talking about Rock Hill, South Carolina, and wait staff and culinary teams. So, we're not paying everybody $150,000 a year in here, okay? But you hear a lot of people talking about, oh, they're just lazy, they just want to get a handout, they don't want to come back to work, and there definitely is that out there. But there's also that single mother or single father out there that's like, I really want to go back to work, but I can't even find anybody to watch my children because I can't find a babysitter because they don't want to. They can't work, or they don't want to work. So I can't go to work because it costs more money to go to work and then I don't have anybody to watch my kids. So it's the circle is really interesting to watch from the sidelines. And then we can't get food, or we can't get. I mean, this is stuff that every one of your listeners is going through. Oh well, whatever food service company says, well, sorry, it's not my fault. It just didn't come in. Well, who do we hold accountable? COVID. That's the end. People don't want to come to work, but you're sick. I got COVID. Okay, well, you're out for a week, 2 weeks. See you later.
Yeah.
Do you really? Because you can't really ask anybody to go to the doctor anymore.
Yeah, that's been one I know. There's been
very interesting.
Yeah.
But not to get down that rabbit hole, and luckily we don't have to deal with that. But I've got a lot of people that deal with that on a daily basis in their businesses, and of course we've had people that have not been able to come to work, but they want to come back to work. We've got a good team. So if you surround yourself with good people, at the end of the day, you'll never fail. My granddad told me that a long time ago, and it's true. It's really true.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with good people. You're a product of your environment. You are.
You are a product of your environment. That is for sure.
You really are. So,
my granddad used to say the best wit bought wit, and look, like you said, it was the thing in Fayetteville. The first one was like the hardest thing, but the best thing because you learn so much. Like you think back of like the worst times in your life or the hardest things you've been through, and you're like, we went through one not long ago. It sucks, but then you get better. You can let things break you, or you can say, okay, I just bought some wit. Like I understand something better now, and I'm going to use that as an advantage going forward and grow from that. Clearly early on you learned about surrounding yourself. First one, like, okay, I gotta be real careful with the people that I surround myself with. And, so tough lesson, but good lesson to learn early on, when there was less on the line. I have to commend you for, taking that risk. This has turned out great. I can tell, and it's going to be a great thing for you for a long time, but freaking banks turning away and taking that risk and pushing the chips in like that on such a big thing. And then, because when you started this project, who knew what was going to happen with restaurants? Like they're closed, there's mandates, people are scared to go out. Like, kudos, man. But that's the best stories, for entrepreneurs or people that had some guts and took some risks and had some faith and belief and believed in themselves and believed in the people around them and, bet on the long term. And, so it's freaking awesome, man. I commend you for doing that. Yeah. We need more people to do that, take those kinds of risks and believe in themselves. I got to tell you, you talked about people coming from all around. I'm going to get my wife down here very soon for a date night because this is cool hanging out with you. But I want to sit up here and partake and enjoy this, man.
We're gonna let me know and kick me a message. We'll get you a reservation. Definitely, it's really cool because if you want to come on a Friday or Saturday night, we got to get you a reservation like 2 weeks out.
That's amazing.
Isn't that cool?
That's freaking
super
awesome.
Cool. We're still in this thing called COVID, and just it's cool.
That's
you can't
so
just
cool.
walk in. But I'll make sure that I come up and cook for you guys. We'll get you the red chairs right here. We'll get you the premier seats. Just kick me a message, work it out with your wife, and let me know when y'all want to come, and I'll get you in. As long as I'm not in Florida or at an event, I'll be here to cook for you.
How often do you go to Florida nowadays?
So I'll start. I usually don't go November, December because it's a little downtick there. But it's crazy for us catering and events here, November, December. And then January, we close both locations down there for about 2 weeks to just do some routine maintenance, get some polishing, get some shining going on. And then we light all the fires, kick all the tires back up, gearing up in February. And then I'll start going down next month again. I'll go down for next month. I think I'm going down for 10 days. And then following month, I'll go down for 4 or 5 or 6 so I pretty much skip out on 4 months out of the year down there, but I'm down there every month after that.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
It's really a cool, but again, to be able to walk away. Now listen, I'm in constant contact with the general manager. I know what's going on there all the time.
Sure.
But I definitely don't have to be there during those times to function, to make it function. So
it's to your point, you got good people that you can trust, and you've given them, when you learn to let go of things and not have to control things, that's and delegate to good people.
When you have good people and you pay them to do a job, let's let them do the job.
Yeah.
Let's not micromanage it.
Do you fly commercial, or do you have a pilot's license? Or
no, I fly commercial. Yeah. No, I'm not at the. I think I'd probably be too scared to fly myself. But no, I'm in circles with people that do that, and I think I'll let them do that. No, I fly commercial down there. It's an hour and 10-minute flight. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And I like flying. I like the airports. I like being around people. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I talk to anybody. But yeah, so no, it's easy. Just get down there and hop in. And listen, my work days are a little different when I'm in Florida. They're not 15, 20-hour days.
Yeah.
They don't have to be. Not that every day here is, but listen, I'm here a lot. I like it.
Yeah.
It's just in my blood. At a certain point, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Housework's done. Dog's taken care of. We're good to go. I'm at work. This is where I network. This is what I do.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere downtown, and it's just I like to be around the people. So
yeah.
That's good.
Sounds like you got a pretty good little gig, man.
Yeah.
So you've done. Last thing I got to ask you, you've done quite a few things in the last 5 years.
Yep.
Do you have something else? I know you have some things around, but I mean, like anything else?
We're going to be building a new kitchen here in fiscal year 2022. Yep. New kitchen in Rock Hill to support our catering and our events.
Okay.
And to commissary our food truck out of. We're going to be opening a new Twisted Eats location here in Rock Hill, either end of this year or early 23. And we may have something on the horizon in Florida. But so that's and then I've got a counter provision and butchery concept that we're working on. We're just waiting for the right space for that, in which we know that is, but that might be 2 years out. So, and after that, I think I'm going to relax.
Yeah, right, man.
No,
I'll believe it when I see it.
Listen, I think that at that point, I think that. When I say relax, I'll still work. I'm not going to retire, but I think that that's enough. There's a certain thing called being spread too thin.
I
$1,000,000%.
Completely agree. Yeah.
So, and I'd like to I enjoy fishing. I enjoy doing different things. It all involves cooking and it all involves people, but I enjoy, as much as I enjoy sitting here and cooking, I enjoy being on the boat and fishing and hanging out and spending time with my kids. And, there's a lot that needs to happen there too. So, yeah.
Fly rod or spinning reel or both?
I actually went fly fishing for the first time this past year.
Did you?
And Nashville was awesome. But I'm in intercoastal water. We've got a little place on the Lower Outer Banks. And so as much time as we can spend down there fishing, that's my happy place.
Nice.
So, yeah, families had property there since 49.
Okay.
So it's like I've been going there since I was 0. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful. God's country there, man. But,
I've been in North Carolina my whole life. I've never been to the Outer Banks.
Man, you got to go.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a long way.
It's not
It's not as long as it used to be. There's some bypasses and stuff like that now. But we've always gone. Well, I lived in Wrightsville Beach for a year and a half out of college. We always wound up down in the South Carolina beaches. My mom grew up in Georgetown, so we used to go to Polly's all the time and stuff like that. But I've not been to the Outer Banks. I need to get out there.
You should. It's a good time, and you need to get out. You need to get out Seaside and come see us out there.
I want to check that out. I've seen that Truman Show. I remember when you started saying that. I remember hearing it was somewhere down there. So it's a cool little setup down there. It looks like
cool setup down there, and Highway 30A, and just, it's beautiful down there. Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. We'll have to make that happen. But I went down to Destin. Gosh, it's been 6 or 7 years ago, I guess. It's hard to believe. We used to do a lot of film work with Schedule Fly. We would go film like people like you that own restaurants and kind of share their stories in like little short films. And we went down there. We went and we met with Chester Krager over there at Fuddpuckers. You ever been to Fuddpuckers?
Yeah,
They got the alligators there and all that stuff.
Yep.
Man, that place is like one heck of an operation. But we had a good time down there. It's a good area.
It's a good area to be in. Seaside's a little more chill.
Yeah,
than Destin.
Yeah.
But it's a good time. If you ever want to come down, it'd be great. We'll schedule it and get you guys. You can start doing those things again. You got 2 spots that are already clients. Come down there for.
Come down there and do that. Yeah. Well, look, man, I appreciate this. This has been a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I salute what you've done here with all your places, but this is just such a cool story. So people that are listening, they're from all over, right? What's the best place for them to find more about what you've done here and what you've done at your other
obviously we can get on the websites. You can go to Kounter. Remember, that's Kounter with a K, counterdining.com.
Counterdining.com.
Or you can look at Create, and that's spelled with a K, and that's KRE, the number 8, events.com. That's event plural. Google Box is always something good to see. If you want to see anything on the Florida locations, that's gazebogourmet.com. Or just come down and see us in Kounter. So,
if you're anywhere, in the Carolinas, particular, you're a short drive away. So, Kounter Dining, come check this place out, y'all. It is so cool, and that counter being the original one, that kind of gives you chill. I mean, literally, like that gives you chills knowing that that's been there for all those years and what the history that saw and still represents. So, all right, man, we'll wrap this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It. Yeah.
Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, man. We appreciate the business very much.
Awesome.
All right, man.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.